and she's tiptoeing everywhere,
Yeah,
and she
yeah.
can't sit still.
Yeah,
She's
yeah.
all over,
Yeah.
and whenever we enter somewhere there are people, she wants to run away.
Yes, yes.
And the meltdown, my child will cry even for a whole hour, just cry.
Right.
And nothing you will do.
Now, Ruth, we talked about the dream you had as a mother, the joys of celebrating motherhood. And has that been your story throughout? That motherhood has just been one beautiful, easy, merry journey?
I would say it's a mixture of all. It's a blend. I would say that motherhood is a blend. There's been tough times. There's been times of tears. There's a times of why me. But generally, first of all, at the start, because I got this child when I was just completing my university. So I was young. I was jobless. I didn't have a clue. I'm a last born. So I have not done babysitting.
Yes.
The babysitting I did was for my neighbors because I liked children also.
Yes.
So because I love babies, where there was a child
Yes.
in our neighborhood,
Yes.
I would be in that home.
Yes.
So the babies, I not to nurture per se, but I was close to them and just
Yes.
loving holding this
Yes.
baby and just that thing. So I didn't have a clue. So I got the baby. I had to go home. Actually, I had gone home to visit when I was pregnant, and I was going to visit home, and then I come back to Nairobi so that I can now prepare shopping. I'd even like gone to like for my mom to also know like this is where we are at.
Yes.
So
To see her girl, her
yes,
daughter.
yes. So as I was at home, just before it was on a Sunday, and you know in the village.
Yes.
The kitchen and the seats that you use, they are low. So
Yes.
I was making porridge, I was preparing porridge.
Yes.
So I went to sit on the kitchen seat and my water broke.
Oh
So
no.
the baby came as I was unprepared.
What?
I didn't have a clue. I didn't know. I just
Even
felt
you just felt water?
yes.
And then you are wondering what is this?
I knew at least we had still had maybe a month or something
Yes.
before. Yeah.
Yes.
So I was totally disoriented. This is a place I had not planned to be. I just came to visit
Yes.
for a weekend
Yes.
of some few weeks. So I just was rushed to hospital. There was an uncle of mine who was at home. He had a car, so they rushed me to hospital.
Yes.
The nearest mission hospital at home. I come from Nyeri. So I was admitted, and now they know everything has taken a twist. You are not ready for all this.
Yes.
I've not even done my shopping because I'm in the village.
Yes.
So my mother was a nurse, and
Yes.
apparently she was in that hospital, and she's been a midwife all her life. So
Oh,
she was
really?
working in the maternity ward.
That's interesting.
She had retired, but she was doing a job there now
Yes.
on contract.
Yes.
So when I was admitted, she was on night duty. It was on a Sunday. She was finishing her night duty.
Yes.
So she's actually attended to me. Now we are there, and the expected
She midwifed
grandchild.
you?
Yes, she did, but not to the end. But she was there. The night duty, she attended to me.
Yes.
And they said now they had to induce me. The doctor came and talked to me. We have to induce now. The water has burst. We have to save the baby. So I was like, fine. So I was admitted there. Then on Sunday, then Monday I was there. Tuesday morning, they said that now we are scheduled. Like I'm likely to get the baby. So I went into labor, and I was they had induced me, and it was painful, and
I can
it was just an experience. And I'm there, and
it's your first time.
Yeah, it's my first time. The life is so uncertain. I don't have a job, so it's like just I'm being supported for now.
Yes.
So on Tuesday morning, I didn't labor much after they induced me in the night, and the baby by 8 a.m. was already there. Had already come. So I was like,
yeah.
So it was a relief. Or the baby was underweight. It was 2.4 kgs. So they told me now we watched. The baby could not breastfeed on their own. It was just sleeping until the doctor, I had a very good gyna that I got there at the hospital, and they were like, this child has come before their time. So in the world where they came from, it was just sleeping.
Sleep
the
time.
food comes in on its own.
Time.
So you have to. So they used to beat the baby until the feet are red, and they are tiny. She was a small baby.
No.
I could not bathe I didn't bathe my child my daughter for 6 months. It was thank God for my mother.
Small,
You know, I used to feel like she will disappear in the
I
basin.
can imagine.
I could not. All I used to do was to gather everything, bring the clothes, bring the water, and my mother will do it, and I'm watching, and the baby is clean. I can have the baby back to breastfeed. So that's how the journey was. The first year of life we spent at home. I didn't work. And then after the 1 year, I got a job, my first job in Nyeri. I was working in the hospital at PGH Nyeri. So the milestones for the baby now, we had episodes of pneumonia. She was sick, on and off hospital. The first jab, ile ya 6 weeks, we came from the ward in
Yes.
Adungwe Kesho.
Oh my
So we started
goodness.
admission at that age, and
Yes.
up to 2 years we were there on and off pneumonia.
hospital, on and
And
off.
she's small. They're
Yes.
trying even to
Yeah,
put
to
the
look even
line
for the
and the cannula
veins.
and all.
Yeah, they can't
It was
get.
just a bad experience.
Oh,
It was
no.
not easy.
Yeah.
So that's how it was. Our journey was early life, and then when I got my job at Nyeri at the PGH the hospital, I was working in a donor-funded project there. So as I was doing the data for them, then so I left my baby at home. I first commuted from home the first year. Then I looked for a house. I moved to Nyeri. Now I would go home over the weekends. So we moved on well, and she was just growing. Of course, there was delay, the walking. By the time you see other children are standing, they
You
can
ask
stand,
that
they're
there's some
trying
kind
to
of a
walk, there's a
delay.
delay.
Yes.
Then they're like, it's okay. Though bearing in mind that she was born 1 month early.
Yes, yeah, it was
8 months.
understandable.
So they said, yeah, she's a little behind. So, but she was doing well. The beginning of the weight at the beginning was troublesome. So I think even she went below the 2.4 kgs at back.
Yes, yes,
then
actually
she
it happens.
quit. Yeah.
Yes, it happens.
So we moved on well, and at some point when we went for the clinic, now the doctor was like, the weight gain was not also good after weaning, and then now the milestones are delayed, and then we hit 1 year. They could see they would say the shape of the head tells there's something, but they can't rule out. We have to still go for assessment. So the delayed milestones also, so they were now just querying there's something that is amiss, but I think even at
They
that time
can't tell
also
what it is.
they could
Yeah.
not tell you even it's autism.
Yes.
Even it was just that they're saying something is wrong, but they can't even give it a
They
name.
can't really
They can't even give it a name.
Yes.
So they said we need to look for pediatrician to assess the baby. So I was now luckily God placed me at the hospital strategically in Nyeri. So I was able to book a clinic with a very good pediatrician. It was called the Kamigamo, and she was very kind with the children, very patient. Dress your child mpaka mmalize ndio utoke, we mwingine ataingia. You know, she would give you a time and the attention. So we went, and I remember she was a lady with disability. I think she had polio when she was young. So she even used to use a clutch. She needed help.
Yeah.
So she really had passion for children. I think the reason she went into but being a pediatrician is what she missed that affected her whole life.
Yeah.
And she wanted to impact lives of children. So she was really passionate. And she was good. She referred us to the occupational therapy. They said that because now she could not walk even past 1.5 years, my daughter could not walk on her own.
1.5 years.
Yeah, you had to hold her, and she used to cry. She didn't want even you to force her to walk.
Yes.
So we just used to carry her, and she's big, carry her to the clinic. So my mom would bring her to the clinic. I'm trying to balance between work. At least I'm working there. So during work, I'd still go with them to the clinic. At least we'd get some, would not cure. Would be given some preferential treatment because we are staff. So that helped me a lot. So we did the therapy, and now that's the time they said, now this one, they start to talk about autism at the clinic. And now they were doing just for her to be able to walk on her own. They would do the therapy, she would cry, the massage and all that. And you know, a lot of children would drag something, would they put something like, like a small cat that the child will drag just to help them walk. And it was every Monday. She came for clinic, I think over 1 year. And my mother used to bring her because she was staying with her at home as I'm trying to work here. So it was that kind of a journey. So my mom has worked with me the journey all since she was young.
Thank God for mothers.
She's baby and my baby, because that is how it has been. If I'm not with her, she will. So we moved on. I got a job in Nairobi, so I left Nyeri. But at least it was a good foundation. She worked. She was almost 4 years.
So by this time, the diagnosis not yet.
No one is telling you clearly. They're just saying it's autism. But even when they tell you it's autism,
they are saying autism.
Yes, they're saying autism, but there is nothing. They have nothing to offer now. The only thing we are doing is the therapy for the walking. Then they started. They told me about diet with raw milk, with like the gluten free diet, that kind of a thing. These are the things you should eat. Don't eat this. Do this. Do this. Hey, that milk first of all was trouble. This girl used to take milk. She loves milk. So me, I was first of all, me and my mom were like milk. They you know that is her food. She doesn't even eat. You have to
Yes.
sleep with a bottle of milk.
Milk.
So it was quite tough.
Yeah.
And we were like, fine, we will be breaking the law here because we cannot deny her milk. She's asking for it. She takes it like it is what she used to take.
So
And it's in the
I'm
village.
wondering, Ruth,
Mm.
at this time when they were saying autism, what came to your mind? What
I didn't know what lay ahead. I'm like, okay. I think I taught
did you
myself.
even understand?
I
What is
didn't even
this?
understand what it is, but I could see just the child has
child is
delayed
different.
milestones.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
the
are
child
delayed
has.
milestones.
For me, I
Yes.
used to just say she has delayed milestones. She will
Yes.
pick.
Yes.
But actually, I used to tell
And your
myself she
hope
will
was
pick,
she'll
and I'm
pick.
hopeful she
Yes.
will pick. First of all, so now she can walk. The day she walked, my mom called me. She's like, now she can walk. You know,
Yes, like it was
at
a
home.
miracle.
After they've done this therapy, and now she's like, she's walking, and I could not wait to go home and see that she's walking on her own.
Yes.
She don't need to support her or just place her somewhere.
Wow.
So she just stood and Alienda,
walking.
and they told me she's walking.
Yes.
I'm like, what? So that was, here you celebrate
Yes.
milestones. Here you don't wait for
Yes. You don't
graduation.
wait for
Here
any
you don't wait until we are waiting for
It's
graduation.
immediate.
Here you celebrate small wins. You celebrate that she can walk.
Wow.
So I later changed my job, but Mary helped us being there because I've come to believe that God will place you at the right place.
Yes, at the
You
right
will ask
place
why.
at the
I used
right
to ask
time.
myself, I'm a teacher. Why am I in a hospital?
Yes.
I landed there, it was for my daughter.
Yes.
The 3 years I worked in
Yes.
that hospital, they
Yes.
helped me, and I'm
Yes.
really grateful.
God
So we
sends
moved.
angels.
Yeah, he does. So we moved on to. I moved to Nairobi. I came to teach in a private school. I left her at home again because now there's a transition.
Yes, another transition.
So I need to go and settle then before I can take her. So I went, I settled, I took her, and then I'm like, hey, sasa ilishafika age ya shule. So I think by the time I was enrolled in high school, she was 6 years.
6 years.
Yeah, to start, 6 years, because
So
now
apart from
the
the
delayed milestones.
walking, was there anything else that you
She
experienced?
could not talk, like, she cannot call you, just like
For
Myra
Edna.
is saying, she can't talk, like call you mom, and those kinds of things. Hakuna. But she knows people, she knows wanajua watu wao, but she can't talk. So it was not easy.
It was
So
not
I left her
easy.
again. I went and I settled. So when I came to Nairobi is when I saw now I can take her. At least I feel settled. Now we can start
bring her
looking for
on.
school.
Yes.
So that's how I enrolled her into just a regular school. She started her school there.
Yes.
Of course, just delayed, and of course she's different from all the other children.
Yes.
But we got a very nice teacher who was a baby class teacher. She didn't even. By the time I took her to school, the toileting was not even. Kabisa, it was not in line. She was not confident in toileting. So she would mess herself, and the teacher, who was just a single lady and very young, she'd wash the clothes. She told me, I can never pack clothes that are soiled. So I first wash them with water. I hang them on the fence, and then they dry. At least the baby comes home clean. So all you had to do is to put extra clothes. So I saw God all the way, because
all the way.
she was able to be in that school, I think, for about 1.5, almost 2 years.
Yes.
Just a regular school. That's how we started schooling, and it's a journey.
Thank you.
It's not what just
It's
she said,
not
not what I ordered, it's not what I got. Just like
God
every
has
other mother.
surprises. He loves.
It's true.
plan and it just comes.
Yeah. No wonder the Bible just tells us to commit all our ways
You
unto
commit
the
to
Lord.
God. Yeah,
Because your story is just it's uncertain. You don't know what to expect.
you don't know what next.
Yes, but now when we put God at the very center, He directs and orders our footsteps. You know, all through your journeys, you've been directed.
Yes.
Angels have come along your way.
True.
And help has come. Wow, amazing story. Back to you, Edna.
Yes.
Now, the diagnosis is here. What is it? What emotions did you have? What came to your mind? What happened?
So I remember this day, like yesterday. Where? So of course we like I said, we had to wait for 4 months for our turn to be checked, and we were waiting. Meanwhile, we were wondering what is this, because now at that period of waiting, you can't check. Because what are you checking? We don't know anything, no diagnosis. So we go, it's our turn, we go, and you know how they do the diagnosis. Sometimes it's funny, or let me not call it funny, because we were experiencing it for the first time. So they just ask you questions. Meanwhile, they're observing the child.
Yes.
So of course, the pediatrician or the one in charge of the development gives the child toys and just asks you questions. So how is her feeding? When did she learn how to walk? Delayed milestones, they check. And then they ask you, how was your delivery? Did you labor for long? Was it too painful? Was the child stressed?
They're trying to find
They're
out.
trying to gauge what could be the issue.
Yes.
And then after all that assessment, what is going through my mind is, why is this doctor looking at me? Why is she talking to me?
And
I'm not the problem.
not
The problem is here.
the child.
The child.
Yes.
So of course later on I learned that all that can contribute to a child having autism, and I didn't know. And then finally she asked, "Have you heard of autism?" And I'm like, "Okay, yeah, I've worked with children in a children's home and all that. I've heard of it, but what about
Never
it?"
focused on it.
Yeah, those are just words that you hear and they pass and all that.
Yeah.
And she says, "Now the child is autistic." And I remember there was a, they say that drop dead silence, like, wait a minute. And I remember my heart just sank. Because now I was wondering, so now what? And my husband is the one who took the courage now to continue with that conversation. Excuse me, with the pediatrician that we were seeing. And okay, so what does that mean? Where do we start?
Yeah.
And we were at Mudaiga, Gertrude. So she tells us, oh, now our center is just here. Turn to your left. We're given a list of all these things that we need to be checked, the level of allergies, what, so that they can find out a plan for her in terms of food and all that. The kind of therapies that she needs, occupational therapy, speech therapy, because remember she's 2, she hasn't spoken any word yet. So there's a lot that needs to be done. Her sensory needs to be checked, because remember she can't walk on flat foot. She's ever tiptoeing and running around and all
not
that.
wearing clothes.
Not wanting to wear clothes. So she has clothes and she's busy trying to pull them off.
Yeah.
It was chaotic.
That was chaos.
It was just chaos. And I remember we go, and then now we go to the finance, and now they have to put in the system so that they tell you how much you pay. And we look at this list and we ask, are we paying for school fees or we're in a hospital?
Yes.
And my husband says, no, there must be a different way. There must be a different way. One thing you need, one of the things like the sound, you have to check the sound just to make sure that her both ears are working. And that is not, they with autism, and as I say this, let me just look straight into the camera and say this. There is no cause of autism yet. As we shoot this episode, kindly as you're watching us, there is no cause of autism. No one can say, your child is autistic because of this. However, there are speculations that could lead to a child being autistic. Yeah. So what they do, they go ruling out things. So number one, let's rule out that your child is deaf. So you have to go for a hearing test.
Wow.
Let's rule out that your child is like this. You go ticking. There's no one
There's
cause.
no one.
Yes. So they go ticking like a checkbox.
Yes.
And I remember one of it was like 10,000. Hey. This is just one. You have like 4 others. And my husband just said, you know what? Let's go home.
Yeah.
Let's go home.
Because now what are we doing
What
here?
are we doing here?
What are we doing here?
Yes.
Yes.
And I remember our road back home was chaotic. My child is in the back seat crying. I'm also crying. And my husband, because now I is bembeleza the lady or the child, just focus on driving.
And I'm sure so many things just going in his mind. Yeah.
Let me tell you, coach, my heart sank. I mourned a child that was still alive. I was mourning this child as though they were dead, yet they were not. They were busy screaming at the back seat, but I was mourning. I did not understand all these things that we build for our children. Oh, this one will go to school at 4 years.
The dreams.
They'll be this wonderful. And when a child grows up, they're like, this one might be a musician like the dad. Oh, this one might be a doctor like.
Yes.
I saw all that crumbling down. And for a long time, we did not speak about it. Because first of all, we were processing it. And every day I would wake up, I did not want that. I was like, no.
No.
This cannot be my
No,
reality.
it cannot be real.
And you see, the unfortunate thing when you get their diagnosis, nobody tells you what autism is.
Yeah.
They just said, okay, your child is
It's
autistic, go to OT, go to speech, go to da, and you're left.
left
Nobody
alone.
offers you that psychological support in any hospital.
Wow.
If you're lucky to go maybe to a private hospital, depending on how the doctor sees, they'll say, okay, maybe you need counseling. So they ask
Yes.
you maybe to go, which is extra money.
Yes, of course.
They will write it to you, go for therapy,
Yeah.
so that you're able to understand what
Yes.
this looks like.
Yes.
Nobody prepares you for that. And automatically, as a parent, your mind goes to a fix-it mentality. Let's fix this child.
Of course.
This thing can be treated.
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
And you now start becoming a researcher of your own, because no one is feeding you with any information. So you're busy Googling, okay, what do I need? There's occupational therapy. Where do we start? What? Anyone who tells you anything that looks like hope,
Yes.
you run there. You hang on to it. You ask her how much.
Completely.
Not knowing that this is a condition your child will live with. It is not curable. As of when we are shooting this episode, it is not curable. They're just things that you can do to help your child learn, to help your child grow up well, to help your child learn, we say, the life skills. But it is not curable. You will not stand and say, not to dispute that God can heal. Of course, we serve an almighty God. But before he does that, there's a journey that you will be going through, and nobody prepares you for that. Oh, no one prepares you for that. So I remember, because of where we were not talking with my husband. We were scared of even telling our relatives. Yes, because now it's, you see, being a neurodivergent advocate, a lot of women come to tell you, I was thrown out of the marriage. Because now people are pointing fingers. How can you give birth to such a child? We have never seen it in our
community, in our lineage.
So it must have been you who has brought it here.
It is you.
And we've suffered a lot. We had even our relatives who now label your child, that's a terrorist, because of how she's hyper, she's what. Hey, you people are just being terrorized here by this human being. You go to the supermarket and now the child has a meltdown, and people are just staring at you and telling you, woman, can't you control your own child? You know, we've labeled it bad parenting. How dare you let your child control you?
Oh no.
And you're like, what do I do? So a lot of time we'll be indoors. It stretched our marriage to a point that we are even breaking up, because now what is this? We don't understand it. Even the doctors are telling you we cannot understand. Now you imagine you're going to a doctor and they're telling you, even us, we don't understand. We're just trying things here and there.
And I'm just thinking, in that moment, when you can't understand it all, and the person you are going to, the doctor, who you think now is some form of hope, and there's no answer.
What comes in? Depression. What comes in? Withdrawal. I was depressed for the longest time. I couldn't work. You get a work that is supposed to take you an hour or two. You take so long to do it because your mind is not there. You cannot even work during the day because this child is all over you. It's only you who can at least understand them. And you see, it reached a point I had to leave my job. Because now we've been written for all this. So we decided to go to Kenyatta Hospital because it's a government facility. At least there we can have a base on where to start from before we think of, the Gertrudes and Nairobi hospitals of this world. So we go ground ourselves first in Kenyatta. And Kenyatta is Kenyatta. We appreciate for what they've been able to do. We just go there, you register here, check the child there. So when you get in, you just take your child to this room where they call the OT space, and you go out.
Wow.
So for 45 minutes, you're just hearing screams and shouts of children. And let me tell you, to a mother, to a father, to any parent, it is traumatizing.
That is trauma.
Because there's nothing bad for a parent where they can hear their child scream, because that scream is not just any scream, it's a scream of help, or I don't want this and that, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Wow.
For 45 good minutes, just screams and shouts. I sank into depression. I lost myself. I lost that girl who was probably, I'm naturally a sanguine. I stopped visiting, parents, relatives,
Yes,
friends.
yeah, you just withdrew.
I just withdrew and I was just all alone. So the only world I knew is this autistic world. Because we must figure this out. Nobody prepares you of the expense.
Yes.
Remember, it was during COVID. So
Yeah.
after COVID, things are slowly
Yeah,
picking
things are
up. So
slowly
things
picking
are
up.
still
Yeah,
expensive.
yeah.
She needs almond milk. Where will you
Yes.
get almond milk? It's not
Yeah.
milk that you will walk into a
Yeah.
shop and get.
Yes.
You have to look at for those big supermarkets like the Carrefours, which you are nowhere near. So it hurt
That
me
was
that
difficult.
even sometimes I could not provide for
Yeah.
my
yeah,
child.
yeah.
And you see, autistic children have what they call comfort food. So you see, like for my friend here, it was milk.
Yes.
For my child, it was bread and milk. But now, even
Some
that
old
bread, we are not allowed to give her.
Wheat and gluten.
Wheat out, gluten out, sugar out. Now you're wondering, so what am I supposed to give this child? Because in the morning, as Kenyans, what do we eat?
Yeah, bread.
Tea and bread.
Yes.
So now you start
With sugar.
yes, with sugar.
Yeah.
Now you start looking for things that are sugar-free, wheat-free, gluten-free. It was chaotic.
That was.
And sometimes this is not food that you can eat as a family.
Yeah.
One, because it's expensive.
Yes.
And of course, because of the taste.
Yes.
But majorly because it is expensive.
Yes,
so
of
she
course.
has to have her own diet. And then you and the rest of the family have their own diet. Remember, I have an older child.
Yes.
Who is watching.
Yes.
Who understands.
Oh
because by the time I was giving back to her, she was like 9 years old.
Yeah, so she
knows.
understand.
She knows mom is not here anymore. Because I am not just I'm not present for her.
You are not.
Why? Because all my strength, all my energy has been focused on this child.
One very child.
Let me tell you, you'd ask me, there's a time I was talking to a few people, and you know the way you meet someone new and they ask you, oh, how old are you? I backdated my age 3 years back.
Like you are conscious about that?
Very conscious. And I'm like, no, I am 30. And they're like, when were you born? 1989. Then Myra, you're not 30. And we would argue until we now calculated, and I was like, oh my God, this is where it has brought me. I would forget simple things, even forgetting the name of your child.
Yeah.
You know, yes.
Your child?
My own child, I would forget. You would ask me, you want to call the child, and you're like, what's the name? You take a minute or so to remember. That's where I had the impact it had for me. So it was so bad.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Ruth, was the story the same? I'm looking at now, your mother has been so good. She has been taking care of your baby girl even while you are away. Now you told us you brought her to your house. You are now in Nairobi?
Yes,
Nairobi.
Yeah.
Were you afraid to expose the girl out there? Was there any shame? Any trauma that you are dealing with?
Okay. I always used to, when we are together, I feel, no, this is my child. So there's the love of a mother and the child. You are proud of this child just the way they are. And you groom them, you buy for them clothes like any other child. They are smart. And so, of course, I used to have an anxiety like we are going to church. I don't know how it's going to turn out. I don't know if she'll throw a tantrum there.
Yes.
I don't know what will happen in the matatu sphere. You know, like just commuting. The people on the road, people are not kind. The looks that they give you, they will turn and turn and turn. They'll almost fall down, turning to look at you. And, you know, it's that look that is asking you questions. What is wrong with this child? They are not asking you, but the look itself is just like we are all watoto, even children, like they are turning and everyone is looking at
everyone is wondering you,
like,
what
is this? You know, that is what the question that they are posing on you is like, what is this? So of course there was that every time we step out of the door and I'm like, anxiety. I don't know when we'll meet, I don't know, but I just would get lost and I allowed myself to get lost in my world and just like it's me and her. I'll even talk to her. She will not respond, but we'll go talking. I'll go telling her things. Mom, this, God bless us. I would have conversation like
Yes, yes.
and her is just like, but she's not
But
talking back.
she was kind of
Yes, so
responding.
I would just lose myself in talking to her.
Mm,
Oh, tutafika saa ngapi?
Mm.
Wacha tukimbie. Responding, but at least she can hear.
mm.
And I know at least I used to tell myself I'm with a human being.
Yes,
I am
yes.
with a human
You
being,
had
and this is
to
my child.
affirm yourself in
Yeah,
this,
so I'll just
journey.
hold her hand and we'll go to that church, but it was not easy. Sometimes at home, I remember there are moments I would cry. There's a time we went for a function at home, and she was smaller. I was still working in Nyeri. So I went and in my mom's house, and I would think I was going to the kitchen, and some of my uncles were in the house. So I think one of my uncles was in the house, and I think some relatives were in my mom's house. And as you know, in the villages, we move from the main house to the kitchen. So as I was moving, I don't know, I was coming from the kitchen to the main house, and as I was coming, I just overheard a conversation, and now it's like one of my uncles was telling me, an auntie who was now from far, like what's wrong with the child, and then they're medics, and then they're like, it's like this is like negligence. I think this child was neglected when she was young.
What?
So I'm like, negligence. Yeah, it's a case of, actually they just said it's a case of negligence.
Oh,
So it's a
no.
negligence on my part,
So
and
it's
also
like the blame is on you.
and my mom also, because we have
Yes.
taken care of
Care
this
of- yeah,
child
you
with
and your
her.
mother.
Remember, my mom is a nurse.
Oh,
She's a retired
that's
nurse.
painful.
So I'm like, I felt pain.
That's
I'm
pain.
like, please don't talk. Like I felt like, okay, they are my elders, but I'm like, I want to storm in there and tell them, don't talk what
Please
you
don't
don't
talk
know.
about this.
Don't talk
You
what you don't
don't
know.
know what
Don't
I've
talk
gone
about
through.
what you don't know. I mean, my mom stopped even. She used to work. Like I told you, when I was giving birth to this child, she was on locum in this hospital.
yes.
She had to stop
Stop
working.
working.
She still was still young and energetic. She could
Yes,
work
yes.
because they used to retire at 55. So she used to be called for jobs, but she stopped. She said, now I have someone I'm taking care of. I'm taking care of my
becoming now
grandchild.
a caregiver.
Yeah, she became the caregiver, the full-time caregiver. So me, I felt pained by that. I even cried. I kept quiet. First of all, I composed myself, but I felt bad. And I went back home. And when I went back to Anana, to my house in Yerena, I just told I broke down. I was crying. And then now my spouse was like, what is wrong? Why are you crying? You went home, ilikuwa sherehe ni nini? Then I'm like, hey, I told him. He actually called my brother and he was like, why did she come home and you hurt her?
Yeah.
My brother is not even aware. My mom is not
Not
aware. I
even
never told anyone
anyone.
until I went to cry at home, because I reached there and I'm like, I cried. I'm like, this is what you can say. This is what you don't even ask. Ask me. Don't ask someone else what is wrong with the
Yes.
child. They
Ask
don't
me,
know.
I'm the
Ask
mother.
me.
Yes.
Or ask them. Ask my mom. What is the challenge? It is negligence. We neglected the child. So me, I wiped my tears, we cried, and I was like, whew, I had several of those, because you just hear, you just hear this child, this child. I think I'm the one who was with that. I had a special. I was the first one in my family to get that special child. So I just felt like I don't even want to go where people are.
People
Like
are.
I don't even want the burden of, like, I can tell you, take care of or like we just live our life. And I think I learned to be independent.
You learned now to
I
be
manage my things.
Yes, yes.
It is me.
Yes.
The next person is mom.
Yes.
Like that. So at some point we even reached, like, even the house help would not do. There is one who beat her. There is one who abandoned her. The last one abandoned her. Then the last time I employed a house help, the girl was 9 years. I'm in Nairobi. This job that I got in Nairobi was in Kamulu, the first one. So when I got my current job, I was commuting from Kamulu to Nairobi. So you leave that house by 5:30 latest, and you come in not earlier than 8 p.m.
I can imagine 8.
So I've come to work, then I come back
Are you
home.
even present at work?
Yeah, there's grace. There's a special grace
There's
that comes in
grace.
special assignments.
What?
Because I'll manage.
Yes.
And then, so as I came home one day and I found there was tea at the doorstep. And I'm like, this girl. And I'm thinking about the house help. There's tea at the doorstep. How now? Tea, the tea that has poured and it's dry and it's sticky. So I'm stepping on something and I'm like, this is chai. And I'm like, how come? And the house is quiet. TV is on. The girl, she's coming from the toilet. She's just dressing. I can see her. The lights are on. Oh my.
Where's your girl?
The girl is nowhere to be found. I went to the bedroom. Her bag is not there. So now I discovered she left in the morning very early. Because the neighbors didn't leave her, didn't see her. There was a shop. No one saw her leave. So it
So
means
she
the
must
minute
have
I
you
left for
left.
work, because I was leaving when it was dark, she also left. So I go and I'm like, the girl has just, this is one now who was pouring tea at the door because all she has in the house is tea and banana. And there was cake. She didn't even eat the cake. She stayed the whole
She was
day on
left
her
alone.
own. And the neighbors didn't know because our house was at a corner and it was top. So nobody even knew.
Yeah.
So I went and told my neighbors, what happened? No one has seen her. So
No
she
one.
left very,
Very
early.
early.
And the girl has been on her own. I think she was 8 years. She was not yet even 9. So I was like, what? So I called work. I can't come. I called my mom. No, you have to come. So she came, stayed with her, and then they went home. Kidogo ndio, then we know what to do. Then that's the time I decided, now, this one, I think we need the boarding. The day school is not working for us. The house girls are not working for us. So I had to enroll, to make a decision.
To
I enroll her to
enroll for
boarding. I had a
boarding.
colleague I used to work with at the school there in Kamulu, and he told me of a school in Thika where
Yes.
his daughter was, who had
Yes.
cerebral palsy.
Yes.
So he held my hand, he introduced me, told me, just go and introduce yourself. Say you reside even in Thika. You know those lies that you have to tell now, so
Yes,
for you to
yes,
get admission.
yes,
It was a government school.
yes.
So she's 9. I enrolled her there. It's boarding.
Yes.
Now I enrolled her. She has never been away from us.
Yes.
I was affected. My mom was twice affected because now her, the shosho in her,
Yes,
she's
yes.
like, how will she cope? How will she eat?
Yes,
Will they feed
yes,
her?
yes,
Kai,
yes,
at 9, boarding.
9
And she was tiny. You know
Yes.
her, because of milestones being delayed. Even right now,
Yeah, she was still
even right now,
tiny.
you can't say she's 18. You know, I
Yes.
tell people she's 18, they're like,
No.
she looks small for her age.
Yes,
So they were like, this is the baby of this school. Now the teachers are looking and they're like, Kai. Even as I left her, they said that her problem now eating, because she was very picky. And what she loves is what she loves, like that milk. And me, I said, let her eat.
Let her eat.
God
Yes.
created these things, and because
Yes.
now you're telling me to withdraw what will that is her food.
Yes.
What will she eat?
Eat.
Cake. She loves cake.
Yes.
When
Let
you're
her
out
eat.
there and cake. So me, by there, I tried that dietary, and I was
It
like,
could not
it's
work.
not working for us.
Yeah,
She
yeah.
will eat these things.
Yes.
She will eat. So
Wow.
she ate.
Wow.
Even sugar. We withdrew for a time, and then one time she came and sipped. I don't know whose tea she sipped.
Yes.
And then she knew
And
the
she realized
sugar. So
there's a
she did not
difference
take
between
hers.
this
Give me
tea.
this one.
Yes.
You give her tomorrow again sugarless. She tells you tea.
Yes. Yes.
She will not take. So
Wow.
she started taking sugar. She
Wow.
has taken sugar up to date.
Yeah.
So I was like, it was tough. So we went to boarding, and then now I'm like, okay, even me, I don't know. I'm asking the teacher, how did she behave? She didn't cry. Even when we left her, she didn't cry. That has been the grace that God has also given her, that when you leave her somewhere, she will just
Somehow
move
she'll
on.
cope. Yeah. And
Though there
adapt.
is anxiety, you can tell, but she will adapt. So she adapted. They almost told me to withdraw her because she can't eat. She was not eating. I think the
At
first year
all.
she was even tiny. When she came, she
Yes.
was smaller now.
Yes. Yes.
But somehow we just moved on. We moved on. So that's how we started the boarding life,
Yes.
and it has been that. So she's in school, she's with her shosho, or she's with me. So
Yes.
she's
That's how.
learned
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
adapt to a different environment.
That is her world.
Yeah, that's her world. But it has not been easy. There are moments you just cry and you're like, no, why God this?
Yeah.
Someone will say something, someone will mention, like, especially the people close to you are the ones that hurt you the most.
Yes.
Those are the ones that hurt you the most. At least
Yes.
the world out here,
Yes.
they're looking at you with questions in their eyes,
Yes.
because they're sympathizing with you. They're like, oh yeah, you can just see that way you look. But the people who are close to you,
Yes, they're the ones
they are
who.
more likely to hurt you. They start questioning, what did you
Yeah,
do
what
wrong?
did you do?
What
Yeah,
did
there must have
there's
been
something you
something
did wrong for this child to be like this. And others are also, of
It
course, looking.
reminds me in the Bible, you know that a person who was both deaf and blind, and they were like, Jesus,
the sins of the mother.
the sins
Yes,
of the mother or the father, the
yeah.
parents, you know?
Yeah. There
That's
is that.
trauma
Yeah,
and
so
shame.
it's not easy. It's not been easy. But again, when you look at the other side of the journey, it's still beautiful.
That's where I'm coming in now. Edna, you've shared your ups, your highs and lows throughout your motherhood journey, especially with an autistic child. But I'm sure in between, in that fusion, there are moments that you found joy. You experienced joy nurturing this child. Tell us more about that.
So the good thing in my motherhood journey, and just with autistic children, there's a way they give you some joy that you can't explain. Their smile and laughs are very what is it called? They're very effective, and
Yes.
when you hear them laugh, you also laugh. Even
It's
though
like
you
it's kind
don't
of from
know,
the heart. We don't know why they are
yes,
laughing.
you don't know why they're laughing, but we are all laughing anyway. So let's just laugh. They usually have an
Yes.
infectious kind
Yes.
of laugh and
Yes.
all that.
Yes. Yes.
And
Yes.
for me, when I was so low, I would look at this child and just look at how she's behaving and wonder, she's so much at peace,
Mm.
just the way she is.
Yeah, that's the way she is.
It's us and the outside world who have an issue with her, but for her, she was just at peace.
Mm-hmm.
And my daughter is now 4 years old
Mm-hmm.
and non-verbal. But I remember there's a day she said a word, and her word was, "I am hungry."
What? She was
Yes.
able to speak it.
Yes, she just said, "I am hungry." And we're like, wait, did you hear that? You know, us we celebrate like
Everything.
every little thing we celebrate, and we make it a big deal
Big. It's a
because
celebration.
it is a big deal.
Yes. Yes.
And she has just taught me how to look at life and appreciate even the things that don't look like they're normal.
Yeah.
The fact that you're
Yeah.
breathing, the fact that you're walking. Do you know my
Imagine.
child cannot walk on grass?
Yes.
So she tiptoes,
She
and
will
it
tiptoe.
will feel like
Mm.
there's just something. So, and for me, I can.
Yeah.
So I really embrace the small things
Things.
that,
Yeah.
let me say, like that make no
Wow.
sense.
Wow.
And then she had hyperlexia. That means
What's that?
at the age of 2,
Mm.
she could read. Yes, she reads but
Mhm.
cannot talk.
So she understands.
No.
So how could she read?
The part of her brain that deals with reading was unlocked before any other part. So whenever my older child will do homework, we notice that the younger one will really take a keen interest, and she would be there. She always wants to be around my daughter, my elder daughter, while her sister while doing homework. But any other time, no. So anytime my child came from home, the elder one, and she's doing homework, the younger one was just there. So she would complain, and I would tell her, now, because she's not tearing your books, just allow her. Because
Yes.
anytime we'll pull her out, now
Yes.
it was chaos.
Yes. Yes.
So we'll tell her, she's not tearing your book, my dear. Just allow her to be around you. And then so one day my elder daughter comes and says, my autistic child is called Sifa. So she said, Mom, Sifa can read. And I'm like, of course she can't. Maybe she's just heard you say something and she's just tried to
Echoing.
say it. Yeah. We in autism we call it echolalia, where they hear you say something and they say it. They don't
Yes.
necessarily know what
know
they've
what
said.
it is.
Yes, it's just repeating. Then she's like, no, she has read my book. And they're like, but of course you don't want to dismiss her.
allow to the other.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's see.
Let's see.
Prove you wrong. in
Yes.
fact.
Yes.
So we write a word cut
Mm.
and we show her. And of course, she's jumping all over the place. And then she comes, cut. And then she goes jumping all over the place. And then we write a different word. And then she comes, dog. And then she goes jumping all over the place. And we're like, what? This girl can
On her
read
own.
on her own.
Without you teaching.
Yes. Without us teaching, without me being a person who loves reading, because at that point I was so low, I was
Yes, you're
not
in
reading
your own
anything.
world.
I was just in my own world.
Yes.
And we're like, oh my God. So the next time we go for therapist, go and tell the therapist, this child is reading. And then he's like, by the way, you could be raising a genius, because we know autistic children are genius. Because they have the what we call hyper focus. They can focus on one thing and do it so greatly that no one who is neurotypical can do. That's why whenever they do work, it almost looks like a machine has done it, because of the high level of hyper focusing on that. So you see, those are small things that you look at yourself and you're like, oh, so God did not leave me after all, so He can bless me with something. Of course, now through therapy, they're able now to help, one, nurture it, and two, redirect that energy to see if she can learn, she can learn any other thing. And then we also have just small moments where
Mm.
I mentioned my child doesn't really interact with people.
Mm-hmm.
But there are those small moments where she'll come to you and touch your
Yeah,
face, and you're
yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh, this is so lovely.
Oh,
For those 2 seconds.
yes.
Before she
Yeah,
changes her
before she
mind.
changes again.
Yes.
Yes.
And then sometimes she'll just come and hold your hand, and you're like,
Like,
oh,
oh,
thank you, God, for allowing me to experience this.
wow,
Because some
wow.
of our special children, we don't get to
Yeah,
experience
it's
it.
true.
And that's why you heard when she was speaking, she said
Mm.
her child at 4 years old
Mm.
just woke up and walked.
Mm. Mm. Just
Because
out of the blue.
out of the blues, maybe she was just seated down and she was like, okay, now maybe I need to get something. And she woke up and
And
walk,
then you
as
are
if
like,
it's like, why didn't you do that years ago?
all these years.
Yes, and I learned that is how autistic people or persons are. It's not that they don't know how to, but they wait for the brain to give them an action
An action.
or a prompt to do it. That's why when they are learning things, they will not learn the normal way of a child, trying
Yes,
to
yes,
walk,
yes,
fall
yes,
down,
yes, yes.
or trying daddy,
Yes,
mommy, trying
yes,
outwards. No, it will just
yes,
come out, ba ba ba.
yes.
In fact, most of them, when you talk to most parents,
Mm.
the first words of their autistic children was a whole sentence. Yes, not mama, not
Mama,
daddy,
it
not
was a
not a name.
sentence.
It was a whole
Whole
sentence.
sentence.
Like for us, it was I am hungry,
Hey,
and we celebrated.
rated. I can
We
imagine. That
celebrated.
was joy.
Yes, and then
Wow.
of course getting her milestones slowly by
Yes, yes,
slowly.
yes.
Her social is still off,
Mm.
but for now I can say she does what we call parallel playing.
Yes.
So parallel playing is where a child, let's say you put her in a group,
Mm.
she's not playing with the children,
Yes.
but she's playing alongside.
Alongside.
So if the children were running, she will run,
Yes.
but she's not in the game those children are
Yes,
playing. She's
yes.
on her own one.